I'm sure this
Okay.
won't be long. You can get back up.
Thank you, Annika Sörenstam, for joining us here at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. Obviously, you're a resident here and have played this tournament several times. Tell us, about this week and what you're looking forward to most.
Yeah, well, thank you, Liz. It's great to be here. This is, a highlight for all of us. And when I said we, for the family, obviously, and for Mike and the kids, and to be able to compete at our home course and come here and practice and see the LPGA and meet some of our friends on the celebrity side. And it's a good way to kind of kickstart the season. I've been practicing the last 2 weeks, trying to work on my game through this, winter spell that we had. Kind of remind me of my younger days growing up in Sweden. But no, it's great to be here. Look forward to a wonderful week.
Going into a little bit about this is the start of the LPGA 75th season. Can you talk a little bit about kind of, looking back at, 75 years, obviously you weren't here all those years, but you played such an instrumental role in the founder's role. Can you talk a little bit about, 75 being the number?
Like you said, I can't, I'm old, but not that old. And but it's amazing to see the growth of women's sports, and especially golf. And you look back and you think about the trailblazers, the founders, what they did with their vision. And here we are in, 2025, and certainly a different level on every aspect, I would say. So I'm super proud of the organization, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and what, I'm experiencing. And but that's why I think it's fun for me to still be able to somewhat compete. I mean, I know not in the same competition as them, but I will be playing with some of the LPGA players and just kind of have a foot in the game. I love that. As you know, I really enjoy the game still. So yeah, I mean, it's something I'm super proud of. And when I think of an organization that I'm part of that have the history that the LPGA does.
Do you think at these moments with 75 that you look back, are you far enough from retirement to look back and see the legacy that you left on the game?
Well, I mean, I think when, I don't really look at the things that I did from that big perspective. I think it's easier if other people judge what your contributions are. But, I look at my years on the LPGA and it makes me smile. I'm certainly proud of what I achieved and reaching my goals and having a chance to really pursue my career. But, I'm glad that you mentioned it. I mean, I think everybody who has contributed feels good about seeing something grow and something getting better every year.
Great. Mike?
Okay, when you look at this golf tournament, which brings together the LPGA pros with the celebrities, can you talk about the impact that it's had in terms of bringing new fans, new viewers to the sport of golf?
I think it definitely does. If you're a golf fan, you would probably watch anything. But then when you bring in, baseball players, actors, just whatever, singers and dancers and whatever they all are, they're here. It brings in a different demographic. And I think people are, they can relate to maybe their games more than the LPGA professionals. It's more like, oh, I can hit that shot and I know what that is like. And just see some of these, some of the, the idols inside the ropes and see them pursue another sport. So I think it's great to have them all come together, and the friendships that has been built here the last few years, I think, would last for a long time.
Are there any particular celebrities that you're looking forward to meeting this week?
I think I've met most of them. I mean, I've been playing in this event and also the Lake Tahoe event a few times, but it's also nice to, to rekindle, the friendship and talk about it. Today, Jack Wagner, we always play. We were supposed to play with Marty Fish. I think he chickened out or he did something. And then we play with, the defending champion, Jeff. So I haven't played with him before. He was very, very nice. And he can play. I mean, he's a great athlete, and he was hitting some shots out there that, was just kind of fun to watch. So who knows? I just, when you play in these events, it's fun to play with different players. And I know Joe Pavelski, do I say it right, his last name, the hockey player? He's super nice, but he's also good, so I got to keep an eye on him.
Annika, you've been working on some swing adjustments, I see on your social media. Can you talk a little bit about it?
It never ends. It never ends.
That's my question. I mean, how much do you change, and just to, at this stage in your career, what's your training like? What's your technique like? And does that constantly change?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, so my coach, Henry, that I used since, I was 14, 15, he came And he said, I'm coming, so I'm going to hang out. I said, great. So he came for 12 days, and I figured that's a lot of work. I don't practice that much anymore. So, but yeah, and then we really just kind of dissect my swing and my putting especially. And I think, the last few years I've just been getting in some bad habits and maybe haven't really paid too much attention, just kind of played with it and try to compensate what I was doing. And now we got back to, literally, the basics. And wow, I feel like I felt like a beginner reconstruct my golf swing. But now I'm actually hitting some good shots, getting the ball up in the air, getting some of my distance back, which has been very frustrating. So I think I've been trying to muscle it, and when we muscle something, we get the opposite effect, which you think you would know by now. But it's been good to kind of refresh my thoughts and about the swing and how really the way that the golfers are swinging today compared to when I started, and it's nice to learn a little bit about that as well. So I guess I get a little extra energy just having something to work on and see if it works in competition.
And does the mental aspect, is that still in place? Do you kind of go back to what you had during your career, or do you have to really work on that as well, the mental part of the game?
Henry said, you used to do this, and you used to do this. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it anymore. What do I got to do? And, I think a lot of it has been, the turn, flexibility, and strength, and all of those things combined. Just, my club head speed and ball speed have just really less and less and less. And it's frustrating when you know what it's supposed to look like and feel like. So just kind of be able to turn a little bit more and being more efficient in my swing. And so it was easier then and harder now.
Does your son Will have more and more advice for you when you play here?
It's getting to that point. Yeah, he's now he has a lot of opinions about my game, which I enjoy that, and just listening to him. But sometimes he needs to have a filter. But it's be fun to have him out here and watching. He wants to know where I'm hitting it and my plan is and so forth. So he was actually negotiating to come out here on Thursday, and I said, well, you got school. He goes, well, I really want to watch you play. And then, I talked to Mike about how well I was hitting it. And then, of course, he was I really need to see how you hit it on Thursday, Mommy. When you're playing so well now, I really need to see how all those birdies you're going to make. I mean, it was one of those, you're like, okay.
Annika, does the competitor in you start to ask yourself, what is it going to take to win this event on my home course?
Yeah, every time. I've played in maybe 12 of these celebrity events, and I've finished everything, I believe, from second to fifth. So I have the chance, and I just have not been able to put 4 rounds together. And that's what I like about this tournament here. This is 4 rounds and Tahoe is 3. And I feel like the more rounds, maybe I have a bigger chance. But we'll see. And then this year's a little, the weather is a little nicer. I'm hoping that, the warmth will make my ball fly a little further and shorter clubs in can be a little more aggressive. So, and I do have home advantage. You would think that I would be able to capitalize on that a little more, but keep in mind, these guys are good, so I really need to, play solidly for 4 days. But I think that's one of the reasons I've come back here, not just because Hilton Grand Vacation is a sponsor of mine, but, I like to know what it feels to beat them at least once.
75th anniversary question. Going back to when you were just coming out on tour, and even had gone to college at U of A, what was kind of the European presence on the LPGA like? I think Laura Davies was probably the big name at the time, but who else was out there, and who were you looking at as you got ready to get into?
We had a few fellow Swedes. Liselott Neumann was somebody that I look up to. I mean, she was so popular. I mean, when she won the U.S. Open in 1988, and I think many young girls just, when she won, then we all start dreaming. I mean, maybe there's a chance for us to do that. Helen Alfredson was another player. I remember Trish Johnson, Alison Nicholas. I mean, just to name a few were out here. So those are the players that I had kind of watched from the sidelines. Either they represented Europe and Soham Cup, or just, played in a few LET events in Sweden. So I've kind of watched them growing up and kind of not necessarily following in their footsteps, because you never know, but they were also, a few years ahead, and it's like I always kept an eye on them.
And Did you have any particularly special relationship with any of the founders as you got a chance to know them over the years?
You know, I never really. I mean, I've met the ones that I met out on tour when they came out and just kind of visited certain events. I mean, Patty Berg was quite a character. She had amazing humor. I remember. I mean, it was Louise Suggs. I got the pleasure to meet Kathy Whitworth, of course. But Marlene Haig I met also. And I'm trying to think of some of the names are blinking me at the moment. But it was very, I mean, it was just, when they showed up, it was just, I think a lot of us had so much respect for them that we didn't want to really approach them, especially as a rookie. I was probably the last one. I would be the last one in the row to say hi, but I always kept an eye on them, looked over, and thought, thank you. So yeah, it was pretty neat.
Do you feel like you're kind of in their shoes a little bit now? I mean, there are none of the original founders left, but there are people like you, Julie Inkster, that generation that these pros are looking up to.
I never really thought about that. I don't know. I just, they started the tour, so I think that puts them in a different level and a different category. But I guess you have generations that kind of do their part, hopefully to move it forward. So, I mean, with my generation, like you mentioned, Kari and Sari and Lorena, that was kind of my group, and I think we contributed with a few things. Yeah.
Hi, Annika. Obviously, right now, the LPGA is going through a leadership transition at the top. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are, A, on the current state of the LPGA, and B, if you were commissioner, what changes would you make?
Yeah, no, very good question. And like you said, it's an interesting time for the LPGA. And I mean, I don't want to be the commissioner, so I'm not. But I mean, if you have a crystal ball, I think we're all just, we want to be seen and heard, So whether that's TV or just any kind of exposure, the more the better. And I think, when you look at, it's important to have somebody that is, can communicate. I mean, you have to communicate with a lot of people. I mean, you got the players, you got the media, you got partners, you got the fans. I mean, it's a complex job, I think, for a lot of reasons. So, but I have no doubt that they're going to, take their time and find the right person. I think women's sport is an amazing place right now. I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of, upside in so many ways. And I mean, you talk to a lot of the players week after week. You see what kind of great athletes they are and individuals. And so, yeah, I think it would be an exciting job for somebody who's willing to take that on. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to be a commissioner, for a day and just kind of point and then go and so. But yeah, hopefully they they have a search committee. They have hired some organization, a company, kind of a search firm. So fingers crossed that the right person will step at the right time.
Great. Thank you so much for your time on
Yeah, thank you, everybody.